This video is sponsored by the Call of Duty League. Increasing the caliber of play, improving as a player is something that I strive for every single year within Call of Duty. From the times of when I started and I was getting stomped all the way back in World at War to when I was potentially the one doing the stomping in, say, Black Ops 2 League play, Masters Division 1, Rank 1, and all the time in between then. I'm always trying to be the best one in the lobby that I can be. And what's nice about the competitive mentality and the competitive side of Call of Duty is the fact that a lot of the skills that are showcased in that side are applicable everywhere else within your game, in regular public matches and everywhere that you can improve your game. Today's video is the pilot episode of a brand new series here coming over the course of the next month, in which we're going to be taking a look at some of the lesser thought of aspects of your game perhaps and how to improve upon them. Today we're going to start out simple. We're going to start out with some of the class buildups that you should be using and what you end up seeing in the CDL, as well as some tips for your movement so that you can get in, get out, and secure those kills or those objectives like the pros. So as we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys want to see here featured in upcoming videos? Is there anything that you want to improve upon within your game? Feel free to let me know down below, and maybe it may be the catalyst of an entire segment of an upcoming video. As well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and be sure to check out the Call of Duty League. But that said, let's jump into it. So firstly, let's start out with some of the more fundamental things here. Actually building a class setup that, from a professional level, is something that will do you justice. Now, what you'll see in competitive play here within the CDL is probably going to be a little bit different than what you may just jump into normally. From not only weapon builds that try to be the most powerful of those weapon builds, but also to things like GAs, or gentlemen's agreements, where weapons and items are banned entirely so that nobody can use them. In terms of weaponry banned, there's actually quite a bit of weapons banned, from the assault rifles seeing bans for the AK-47, the XM4, the KSP submachine gun being banned, the 1911 Magnum pistols being banned, and all sniper rifles also being restricted in all game modes. Now, if you think that's kind of a lot to keep track of, well, you're not wrong, because it even goes a little further, where things like specific attachments are even banned. Thermal optics and scopes on ARs, the Task Force barrel, all body attachments, the KGB eliminator and SOCOM eliminators, as well as all muzzle attachments on the AK-74U, and all magazine attachments on the 74U are also banned. Things like your wild cards of Perk Greed and Lawbreaker are banned, though Lawbreaker is allowed whenever it's utilizing factors that don't allow you to take a second primary, so just changing out those perk designations. Then things like Gearhead, Gung-Ho, and Assassin are also banned, alongside Molotov, frag grenades, stun and smoke grenades, as well as the Jammer, and there's a limit on how many trophy systems a team can have, that being 3 trophy systems. So when you take a look at it, your arsenal is kind of limited, but that doesn't mean that you can't craft something that is incredibly powerful, and you'll see that a lot with the 3 main weapon builds we'll talk about in this video: the QBZ, the Krig 6, and the AK-74U. Now, as for the AK-74U, this is probably the most constant and stable of the weapons we'll talk about here today in terms of the use throughout the year so far, and one of the big factors that players have been using it for is simply because it's a powerhouse in terms of weapon, but also it allows you to move with relative ease, strafing wise, and also actual mobility. So players will kit their weapon out for that strafing speed, for that extra speed, but also to pack a punch a little bit. So when you take a look at some of the builds, you'll see things revolving around, say, the 9.3-inch extended barrel, which offers up a 40% bullet velocity increase with no cons or negative impacts on the weapon. You'll also end up seeing things like the Spetsnaz speed grip, introduced to allow for better sprinting move speed and horizontal recoil control, while sacrificing a slight bit of regular movement speed, shooting move speed, and aim walking movement speed. The GRU elastic wrap is definitely still a fan favorite in terms of offering up aim down sight, flinch resistance, and the ability to drop shot, as well as that skeletal stock offering up additional sprint to fire time and aiming walking movement speed. So you kind of get that whole package there, where when we come back to it and talk a little bit about the movement tips that you should be adhering to, this is definitely a weapon that is built to run and gun and get up in your enemies' faces. A newer weapon comparatively on the scene, though, that saw some exponential growth in usage as of recently is that of the QBZ, though with this past week's update and weapon tuning, you may see a little bit of a drop off here as of this weekend and in the future, but with the XM4 not being used as much in recent times in the CDL, this is a weapon that kind of fills the gap on that AR play. Now, for this build, you're going to end up normally seeing a gunfighter build for it, meaning that you can end up having at max 8 attachments, but some of the times pros won't use all of them, but you'll end up seeing things revolving around a build similar to the Microflex LED for a little bit more pinpoint precision, though you still will see the mill-stop reflex quite often. You'll end up seeing the muzzle brake in terms of that vertical recoil control for no additional cons or downsides here for it for running that. You'll see the Ranger barrel to increase that bullet velocity. You'll end up seeing either the Field Agent foregrip or the SFOD speed grip. You're seeing seeing kind of a back and forth between those two. If players want to have a little bit more speed, they'll take that speed grip, or if they want a little bit more control, they'll take that field agent grip. Kind of depends on how they're playing the engagements and what their designation is as a player for their team. For the magazines, you'll often see a 40-round mag. You'll see the airborne elastic wrap for, again, that added benefit that it affords, and then you'll see the Raider stock for that added sprint to fire time and aim walking movement speed. And then finally, when it comes to, again, another weapon that's been around the block a little bit in terms of meta for the professional play, is that of the Krig 6. Again, revolving in a similar manner to somewhat like the QBZ. You'll have that Microflex LED or the Millstop Reflex. The infantry compensator does help a lot on the Krig 6 for combating the vertical recoil. The horizontal isn't as bad on this weapon. Then you'll also see the choices for the Ranger grip for that added bullet velocity. Things like your Field Agent foregrip normally used. Things like that 40-round mag also thrown in the mix, along with that airborne elastic wrap and that Raider pad. For most of these builds, you'll notice, again, you're prioritizing that speed, that control, trying to find a little bit of a hybrid between those. So it is something that, while there is some relative unity in the classes that are chosen, they're chosen for a reason. Now, realistically, when you get to the things like your tacticals, lethals, and field upgrades, as well as perks, that comes down to, again, your role and how you want to play. Some players are more of a flex, some players are more of the aggressive and get in the hill type of players, in which case they'll want to use Flak Jacket to combat those grenades, or potentially Tac Mask if they're combating stuns. Those really all vary, but the builds of the weapons themselves are relatively stable. Now, when you take these builds and you mix it with the playstyle and the movement of the pros, that's where these builds can become absolutely deadly. But before we jump into some of the movement tips, let's take a second to talk about the reason for this series. The Call of Duty League is home to some of the most fierce competitors that Call of Duty has to offer, with the current 12 franchise team league, all fighting for the call. This year, the league switched back to 4v4 play and over to PC, with some of the staples in COD returning, like the tension building, search and destroy as always, with hardpoint and control also in the mix there as well. And also, we see the return of some fan favorite maps of all time in Call of Duty, like Raid and Express, making a return recently. The regular season is comprised of 5 stages, each culminating in a major tournament with homestands in between. All teams will fight for CDL points and placing throughout the season, with the top 8 teams qualifying for playoffs, and the true fight then begins to be crowned world champions. The evolution of competitive COD has been a long and storied history, with the future just beginning now, and it's looking bright. April is action-packed when it comes to CDL matchups, with the LA Guerrillas home series going on as of right now, and the second major of the 2021 season happening as of next week, starting on the 7th. Don't miss a beat. Check out all the action in a link down below. Now, when it comes to some of your movement benefits here, some of the things you'll end up seeing the pros use, a lot of the movement is predicated on slide canceling. Now, right now in Black Ops Cold War, there's 3 main ways to do this, with it really all coming down to preference and which one feels the most natural to you. But for example, there's one that is slide jump, in which you end up going into a slide, canceling it, but then quickly jumping back up to your standing stance based off of that jump there. That one's more so meant for movement based to maybe try and get around the map a little more. There's the second option of slide aim jump, which is a little bit better for challenging gunfights because you end up canceling that additional time that it would take to aim down sight after completing the slide cancel. Instead, you're making it more so fluent with the entire movement. It just gets that gun up a little quicker, which is definitely nice. And then probably one of the easiest ones to do here is if you end up running auto sprint within Cold War. This essentially makes the 3-step process a more so 2-step process. While holding in your stick to sprint, you want to make sure that that is part of the key here with that. If you have auto sprints on, hold that stick in so you get that little click, and then just double tap slide and it will jump you back up. Now, mechanically, this option replicates that first slide cancel of slide plus jump, but because of the auto sprint being on, it negates the need to jump back up yourself. So that means that it just naturally puts you back up to that standing motion. Once you end up replicating these, once you end up putting these into your gameplay, you'll definitely notice that it helps out greatly with gunfights. Not only one, because it is a mechanic that is used to sort of cancel out camera angles, giving you a better peeker's advantage, if you will, but it also keeps you a little bit more mobile. It makes you that moving target. And naturally, I'm sure that you'll end up noticing that moving targets are a lot harder to hit than stationary ones. Another thing that's absolutely crucial, and we talked about it in the class building end of this, is that of strafing. A lot of pros will kit out their weapons so they don't lose anything really on the strafing speed. And that is because you end up, again, having a moving target here, and it's harder to hit you at that point. So when you can go in and chain, say, a slide cancel into a strafing move ADS, you're really just buckling down on the movement and make yourself that much harder to end up killing. Pre-aiming is absolutely something you want to take advantage of as well with your movement. If you can go into a slide cancel, into a strafe, pre-aim with that, and you know somebody's coming, In some of the gameplay you'll see in the background, it's primarily me playing against bots just to kind of show off a little bit of that slide canceling, which, truth be told, I'm still not even the best at it. The pros, absolutely, you watch some of that CDL competition, they're all over that kind of stuff. But you slide cancel into a strafe pre-aim and you hear a player coming, you have absolutely all of the advantage in the world here at that. And finally, that comes down to using that environment to your advantage. So if you end up having that angle that you know somebody's coming from, you can challenge that. You can slide cancel into it, again, into a strafing pre-aim with it, if you will, around that wall, and you catch the enemy off guard, you secure that kill, you move up, take position of the map. But when you put those things together, you have an absolutely killer playstyle that will take your gameplay all the way to the next level. So that's where we're gonna wrap it up here at this pilot episode, and let me know your thoughts down below. Stick around for the next episode, because right now we're gonna be focusing on pinpoint precision aim, how to obtain it so you don't miss a single bullet, and a few more strategic items as well. If you guys would like to see anything in specific, feel free to let me know down in the comments as well. Maybe we'll add it to an upcoming segment here in the future. But right now, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below, and of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing, writing all things on how to improve your game and take it to the next level. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get cracked outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.